The women in Johnny's orbit were obsessed with him. He seemed to be like a drug. They couldn't break the addiction. He would make a point of singling one out and love bombing them nearly to make them feel $1 million, and they're just swooning at this Johnny Creswell. He loved it. You know, he was the centre of attention.
He wasn't good academically. He made up for that on horseback. He was seen as, you know, a bit of a rock star. He was almost like a magician with women. He was able to control and manipulate them as if he was playing a hand of cards. Nobody knew the secrets of his world. Did you know there was like a big storm in Spain last week, and they were warning people, like, you know, going on their hollybops to bring their wellies?
I did. I mean, it was a flash flood, and I know for a fact it was happening in the exact place we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad.
Really bad, yeah. And they were hoping that, further there would be weather warnings. Actually, I think there was weather warnings there, and people were kind of urged to stay indoors and maybe get out of it. So now, which brings us to John Gilligan.
Yes.
Who has been released from prison after being jailed before Christmas in relation to this pink cocaine laboratory thing. And we speculated about where he was going to go when he came out of prison, because he's on bail as such. No charges have been levelled yet against him, but he's still been investigated by the magistrate and has to go, sign on and show up in the court every so often. But, he was down on his luck beforehand, but now he is so down on his luck that we've managed to put our eyes on some pictures of him actually trying to break into the apartment where he was, the villa where he was living before he was jailed.
Yes.
So this is a homeless guy looking to get in out of the rain.
Well, and that might even elicit a bit of sympathy for him. But I suppose I spoke to the landlady.
Yeah.
And your sympathy would start to diminish, I have to say, when you hear what she's been put through. Now, we obviously spoke about him living in this apartment, and we used to always describe it as his ex's. It's not an apartment, actually. It's a villa, a lovely
villa. It's a little villa with a little pool and all.
A little pool, so very nice property. But in fact, she was renting it, and she was renting it off another woman from the UK who'd lived over there, but they had a person sick in the family. They'd had to return to the UK. She'd had some sort of, knew Sharon to some extent and allowed her to take over the lease of it.
Yes. And from my understanding of it at the time, this was a sort of a long-term lease, and Sharon had lived in it for a good few years and been quite happy there, had begun a relationship with John Gilligan and had allowed him to move in with her.
Exactly.
They'd split up, and she herself had returned to the UK.
Yes.
After the first debacle with the drugs, which she got caught up in. She returned to the UK, but she allowed Gilligan live on in this a property that she had leased.
Well, I mean, whether she allowed it or, whether he was allowed at all, but he remained.
Mm-hmm. Now, my understanding is she did allow him to.
Yeah, but, I mean, that doesn't, the landlady never consented to it, is what she would say. So, at some point, Sharon Oliver had moved in, paid rent for a year and a half, no problems, all gone well. John Gilligan had moved in. Ultimately, there'd been that drug arrest. At some point, the landlady said she thinks some bank accounts are frozen, so the payments stopped coming.
Right.
Because obviously they'd been arrested, both of them had been arrested in connection with this sending cannabis back to Ireland and the UK. Now, ultimately, Sharon Oliver was cleared of all charges. So this person says it's her allegation that they haven't received any rent since 2022, since these bank accounts were frozen, and that John Gilligan in particular has lived there rent-free since then. Yeah.
So, yeah, and you see, you get down to this with these stories because ultimately my understanding is that Sharon Oliver would very much admit that she leased this property. She feels she sort of sublet it almost with John Gilligan, even though there doesn't seem to have ever been any documentation of that.
Yeah.
She would not have sort of been openly admitting not paying the rent. I have to say, she would have considered that she was continuing to pay anything due on it. So there's obviously a dispute, and I have absolutely no doubt that the landlady in question has evidence that this money hasn't come through since then.
Either way, what's not in dispute is that Sharon Oliver moved back in the UK, to the UK at some point, said it's something to do with me, fair enough, and that John Gilligan has continued to live there alone and not pay any rent. Now, this woman said that she eventually confronted John Gilligan, and her what she told us was that he claimed to her that he'd been paying rent every Friday to somebody, right? And that she said, "Well, I'm not getting it." And he said, and she said, effectively, she's going to get a lawyer. And he said, "Well, if you get a lawyer, I'll have you shot. And I have done it before, and I'm not afraid to do it again." So, and obviously, she subsequently know who he is and realised that this is a person that is to be feared. So she was in this position.
Yeah, so Gilligan's living rent-free in her property. He's claiming he's paying rent to some unknown individual on a Friday, and that if she doesn't back it up, he's going to shoot her.
Yeah.
He goes into jail after the pink cocaine lab is discovered in the property, and there's damage. We'll get back to the damage on the property. So that's last Christmas.
Yes, so she thinks, finally,
she's going to get her keys back.
She has it, man. She's always had the keys. So she thinks, finally, we're at an end, right? They go over, they fly over, they fix up the property. Said they spent, 6, 7, 8,000 doing it all up. It was in a dreadful state.
And we have a video of the state that property was in because, we'll just show it. So that was a video at the time after the arrest of John Gilligan before Christmas of last year, when he was arrested in what the police in Spain have said is an investigation into a pink cocaine lab. And that's the state that property was in after the raid and the arrest. So
they fly over, they do it up. She said they had a lovely family holiday. Presumably they have whatever plans they have for the future, didn't get into that specifically. But we're just relieved the nightmare is over. If you add up everything, you're talking, tens of thousands of euros, and she said that there was a lot of problems, financial problems that would bring on anybody. So they hear nothing from John Gilligan, obviously, and they just think it put the past behind them. She said she didn't even claim off the police for any damage done to the police raid because it's just too complicated and just wanted to move on.
Just happy to get it back.
But obviously after Gilligan got out sometime in was it late August, I think. It was. It
just feels like it was a few weeks ago. Was it really late August?
Well, I think it was late August.
You're probably right.
Yeah. And he obviously, after a long time, managed to cobble together a bit of bail and got out, paid 10 grand, I think it is. And at that point then, on the 2nd of September, he appears at the apartment. And I think she spotted, locals tip her off that he's back. She calls the police, and when they arrive, he's not there. And then on the 10th of September, another week later, he breaks into the grounds of the villa. They call the police again, and he's arrested at the scene. So the police hold him. He's on bail, obviously, so he wouldn't be allowed. There would be conditions. But when Gilligan claims, "When I'm a legitimate tenant," and the police can't hold him because the landlady hasn't done a denuncia, which is, I think, a statement. So who knows? The Spanish legal system is complex. But as soon as they know he's back on the scene, they actually fly out and do this denuncia, which is just a formal statement so police can operate. But then on the 29th of September, another couple of weeks later, her security cameras capture him getting over the wall, and the police are called again. And at this time, Gilligan produces this rent contract.
Oh my God, he's such a pest.
Yeah, exactly. And she says, "Look, there's no way." They never had a rent contract.
Yeah.
Like, she knew Sharon Oliver. But So he's just gone and printed this out is what her thing is. But it does kind of throw this kind of enough doubt on it that they're in a position. So what happens then is the police didn't even look at it. They just see it. He just shows it to them. They don't take a copy of it. Then he finally, they head off and he enters the property. And you can see that on CCTV, and you see him with what looks like a shovel smashing up the CCTV cameras on the outside.
Right.
And so that's it.
Is he still in that property now? So he's going to let you see. This is Gilligan, like, because, and I do know that there is people in the entourage that surround Gilligan out on that, you know, in that particular area of Spain. I have been told previously that they have squatted in properties.
Yeah.
There are a lot of holiday homes out there that are not occupied during the year. And I know in particular, quite a well-known associate of Gilligan out there has for years squatted. He moved in and squatted in the property and then claimed whatever that is the Spanish equivalent of squatters' rights. They know how to manipulate the law. And I've always said this about Gilligan. He's useful out there in Spain to many younger criminals as a mentor. I'm sure he's not making a fortune out of it, but I'd say he's making some money because he knows his way around the law. He knows how to get bail. He knows how to thwart the system, and he knows how to do exactly this kind of thing. Exactly.
And look, I talked to her, this landlady directly, really, really nice woman, very ordinary, down to earth. And like when she says, she didn't say like he might have an old rent contract or anything. She just said that wasn't the way it worked. Like it was
they're probably going to have to go to court now with him.
So exactly.
Translators, everything.
This is where they're left. So they had to fly it again. They've hired a solicitor. She's very disappointed with the local police out there, said there'd been absolutely no help, no justice, you know, that they're left going to carry this bill again, that they have to bring two cases, a civil case to get him evicted, which is going to take however long it takes and however much it costs, and is very, very complex. And then they're going to have to bring a criminal case, which is basically for criminal damage, because he's caught, as you can see on our footage, smashing up the cameras. So that should be straightforward enough. But it takes months and months. They have to hire a lawyer. The lawyer has to go down to the station with them because they may speak some Spanish, but they're not going to be perfect. And it goes on. And all of the time, this is huge, huge stress. She says she can't sleep, can't eat. There's problems with the money, with the banks. There's a mortgage on the property still. And it's an absolute nightmare.
So where's Sharon Oliver in the middle of this?
Well, Sharon Oliver, I think, is back in the UK.
Well, she's back in the UK, but where is her responsibility if she has a lease signed with this?
Well, I don't know if there is a lease, but I mean, certainly, well, you know, whatever lease is signed is not going to have anything to do with John Gilligan or John Gilligan's name on it. I don't know where her responsibility is, but certainly you have to say this landlady wasn't looking to pursue people or sue them for money. She just wanted to be able to move on with her life. And I mean,
or use her own property and not have bloody John Gilligan living rent free in it.
And she said to me, there's been people coming in and out as well, Gilligan's associates, and they're like, they're there. They don't even know if he's there full time or not. But he's just up to, it's his usual mischief and his usual kind of legal shenanigans, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And I mean,
he knows exactly, and his mind seems to operate in a way, and especially when he's in prison. When he comes out of prison, he's had so much time to think and to read up, and to, I'm sure he has pretty good Spanish at this stage, he must do. So he must also be back in touch with a lawyer, given that he's got his bail, and money has been raised somewhere for him to get that 10,000 euro bail that has allowed him get out and go back. And that will have been a plan that he will have concocted in his head while lying in a prison cell.
Exactly. So his basic line are, I've been paying the money to somebody, but, you know, we know details who he's been paying. So he's going to say, I've always been paying rent. I've got this contract, which again, are totally bogus. And he's just going to sit there and get another whatever period of time out of it.
Oh, listen, anybody who knows anything about this, please get in contact with us on our social media. All DMs are open because this is just, you know, John Gilligan at his worst.
And it's very hard on ordinary people. So they you know, ordinary people are expected to deal with somebody like Gilligan you know, it's not what they want. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Thanks, Nan. You've cheered up my day.